So it looks like Disney is back at it again, trying to appease their overlords of the Chinese market, and by doing so, they have recently removed on Disney Plus an episode from The Simpsons which references forced labor camps in their beautiful Chinese market that they don't like to talk about, but they love pandering to. This is a real thing. It has just happened. Bounding into Comics just released an article about it, and it says, thanks to a joke referencing forced labor camps in China, Disney has pulled a recent episode of The Simpsons from the Hong Kong edition of their signature streaming service. I'm not surprised at all. This probably came from the CCP. They probably told them, hey, you need to remove this because they're, obviously they're very big on censorship. So this is something that's going to happen no matter what. I mean, it's Disney is going to pander to the Chinese market. They always talk about, oh, we're going to start pulling out from the Chinese market. We're going to focus on the Western stuff. We're going to make sure that we do our LGBTQ stuff. We're never going to delete it anymore. We're going to show our diversity. We're never going to hide it anymore. We all know it's full of crap. We all know that Disney's going to focus on trying to maximize their profits because they've been losing so much money over the last couple of years. They've been forced by the woke mob to not release their movies in China because the woke mob will cancel the hell out of them in the Western market, and they can't afford to lose that, so they've decided to give up the Chinese money, but the Chinese money is ever so glorious for them, and they didn't really want to do it, and now they're trying to do little things here and there to appease their Chinese overlords, and they just removed the episode of The Simpsons. It's ridiculous, but let's see what Bounding Into Comics has to say. It says, originally aired in October of 2022, the second episode of the show's 34th season, One Angry Lisa, sees Homer purchasing a stationary bike for Marge. Seeking to get the most out of her new exercise equipment, Marge soon takes up a virtual fitness class with a professional trainer named Jesse, and over as the episode goes on, the two grow ever more closer before eventually agreeing to go on a private virtual trip together across the Great Wall of China. The joke which caused the episode's removal occurs on the very bike ride when during their trip across the world-famous landmark, Jesse remarks to Marge, behold, the wonders of China, Bitcoin mines, forced labor camps, where children make smartphones, and romance. Despite Marge and Jesse's bike ride being the only mention of China in the episode, and even then, none of the characters actually physically traveled to the Asian country, this dig led to the House of Mouse to deem it necessary to pull the episode from their Hong Kong edition of Disney+. Again, what is wrong with the truth? Like, what is wrong with the truth, Disney? I don't understand. Like, why are you going to remove it? Okay, I know why, because obviously the CCP came down on you, but why remove it? It's the truth, right? You want to talk about misinformation. You're usually one of those companies that talks about misinformation all the time. You want to talk about the fact that you want to be very truthful, very transparent to everybody, but yet you are removing episodes because it told the truth about a country that you pander to. Is that basically what it is? Because it's really sad if that's the case. We've seen what you've done with your characters, your LGBTQ characters in China. We've seen what you've done with your diverse characters. Just look at John Bodega, like what you did to him on the poster of Star Wars and how you made him so tiny because you just didn't want anybody in China to realize that there was a black man head on the poster. Like, you definitely didn't want them to see that. So, I mean, I don't understand. Why did you hide Black Panther's face in the poster? Why did you hide Chadwick Boseman's face in the poster? Because in the American poster, his face was prominent, but in the Chinese poster, it was only the Black Panther. It's just little things like this make you wonder, Disney, after a certain point, you kind of have to admit this is about the money. I understand you're a virtue signaling company. That's fine. All you guys do it at this point. But just admit it's about the money. You don't want to lose that Chinese money, okay? You definitely don't want to lose the Chinese dollar, and it's very evident at this point. So, I mean, I just wish they would just freaking admit it by now. It says Axios suggests Disney's move comes at a critical time for their relationship with the Chinese Communist Party, which has only recently reopened its doors to Hollywood. China is one of the most lucrative film markets in the world outside of the US, and Beijing is beginning to allow Disney films back into its theaters after banning most of its popular hits during the pandemic, the outlet argues. The news outlet also notes that the joke is unfortunately rooted in politics, as US has accused Beijing of genocide against Muslim Uyghurs, particularly in the Asian country's western region of Xinjiang. Disney and China have been in a rather rocky relationship for quite some time now. In 2021, the entertainment giant ran into some trouble releasing some of their Marvel films in China, which is what I was talking about, with the Communist Party eventually banning nearly their entire slate of post-Spider-Man Far From Home films, which includes Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and The Legend of the Ten Rings, The Eternals, and the Sony/Disney co-produced Spider-Man No Way Home from releasing within their borders. However, Marvel caught a much-needed break just last month when it officially announced that Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania were granted February release dates. Now, that's very shocking to me because both films are led by black characters, so it's very interesting that they allowed that. But again, I would love to see some posters that they released for those markets. China had previously barred Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Thor: Love and Thunder from releasing because of cultural and political sensitivities, namely the fact that both films featured LGBTQ plus themes and characters. Again, China obviously doesn't like that stuff. China doesn't really like the overly diverse stuff. China also especially doesn't like the LGBTQ pandering. They don't care about that stuff. They're definitely more traditional, and they're not for the woke nonsense like the Western market is. So, of course, they're going to remove that because they need to make the money, and Disney's not going to let them lose that money. It says the release of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was also a topic of concern for China, as the film featured, presumably accidentally and absentmindedly, one of the signature yellow newspaper distribution boxes used by anti-communist newspaper The Epoch Times. More recently, whispers on the ground seem to indicate that in order to avoid such future lockout, the Walt Disney Company and Marvel Studios will be educating their actors and executives to placate communist China and refrain from publicly criticizing its government's actions. Of course you are. Of course you are. These people want to talk about slavery. They want to pander to like BLM and all these other organizations and stuff. You want to talk about slavery, but then you want to release movies in China where slavery is literally happening to this day. You want to release movies in China and you don't want to talk about the issues that are going on in China when they're happening nonstop, and you want to talk about those issues in America that don't exist. It's like, what are you doing? It's just these guys are just the hypocrisy just makes my brain explode. It really does. It makes my brain explode more than Velma did watching it. It was like, I just don't understand why people don't see Disney for what they are. You have so many people that are hardcore Disney shills, and they don't see what Disney's all about. And that's because, simply put, Disney is smart. Disney knows that if they just put out a couple of pandering posts, if they dedicate a couple things to the LGBTQ, the mob is going to stay quiet and shut up and be fed, and they're going to be happy. And they're going to completely turn the blind eye to everything happening everywhere else in the world that Disney makes its money from. So whatever money that they lose in the Western market by pandering to these idiots, they're going to make up by releasing movies in China. It says, in covering a reported investor battle between Bob Iger, Ike Perlmutter, and Nelson Peltz, the Walt Disney Company's current and former CEOs, and a hedge fund manager seeking a seat on Disney's board. The Walt Disney Company's current and former CEOs, respectively, The Hollywood Reporter's Kim Masters and Alex Weprin, alleged that in light of their latest releases being granted release dates, Marvel team members will be well schooled to watch their words. They further noted that this tense situation meant that Chinese villains in future Disney Marvel projects, such as Tony Leung's Wenwu, arguably the only part of Shang-Chi which garners any amount of consistent praise, are extremely unlikely. Now, this wouldn't surprise me at all, honestly. Listen, guys, at the end of the day, Disney's going to do what they're going to do regarding China. They need to start making money again in China, because if they don't, they're going to take some massive hits. And they know this. They know this. They know they need China. They tried the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion pandering in the United States, and it's not getting them anywhere. The woke do not support the stuff that they say to support, at least not financially anyway. Most of them do not. That's why all these woke movies fail. That's why all these woke TV shows fail. It's a consistent trend that's going on in Hollywood, and Disney is going to have to eventually get out of it and start pandering again to China, because if they don't do so, they're going to go down a terrible rabbit hole of losing money to the point where they're going to have to continue to cut costs, and the production value is going to go to the shit, which I would argue has already happened. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.